this is Advent of Code 2023 day 1, and I want to give you a short solution with Typescript and some comments on that and how I solved the day. First of all, I put the day 1 input here in my text file and just put it in the same folder. So we start by reading the input, and I just create a new variable. Let's call it input, and we use the read file sync method, and we need to give the location of the file, which is just the same folder and the name of the file, and then we specify the UTF-8 standard. So that's the first thing we do. Then we split the whole thing after each new line, and then I filter the empty entries, which is a thing that I usually do because it can cause bugs if you don't filter this once. So what we have so far is just the complete input with split it after new lines, and that's all we need for the first time. So let's have a short look at the problem over here, and let's see what we have to do. We have a lot of string inputs, and we need to find in part 1 the first number and the last number. So in that case it's 1 and 2. In this case it's 3 and 8. Over here it is 1 and 5. Then we put these two digits together to a 2-digit number and just sum up the values at the end. So we need a sum at the end. That's why I just create a little variable called sum, and then we can loop through our input. I just use the for each method and I iterate and have a look at the word of our input. And what I do then is I just try to figure out if what's the first and what's the last number in our word. And for that I take an array. Let's just call it numbers in string, and it's empty at the beginning. And then I loop through the word. Let's say word.length e smaller than word. Oh no, sorry, that's wrong. E equals 0, e smaller word.length e plus plus. So we iterate through each letter, and then we need to find out if our current index is a number or not. And how I do that, and I don't think it's best practice, but it works for me. I just create a second variable with numbers, and I put all my numbers in this string. And JavaScript has this little method where I can check if numbers includes word at I, then I have what I want. So the includes method just check if the word, if numbers includes the word.I or the substring or whatever. So this is exactly what I want to do right here. And if that's the case, I just take my numbers in string array and I push the word at E, and we're good. So we store all the numbers in our string in this little array, and finally we would just have to sum up the whole thing, and we add to our sum the value of numbers in string at 0 plus numbers in string at numbers in string dot length minus 1, so the last element of our numbers in string array. So finally we can just log the sum and print that out. I just put out this one here. Let me have a short check if it's correct. It is. So this number is the right answer for my complete input. Yeah. In the second part, it gets a little bit tricky because now we need to have a look at words that, yeah, also count as numbers. So we have spelled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on until 9. And we need to count these values as well as numbers. So what I did here was first of all, I create a new object and I call it numbers as string. Maybe not the best wording because we have already numbers in string and now we have numbers as string, but whatever. What we do here is we create a little object and we just simple use the key, which is the word, and the value to that key is the correct number. And then we just do it for all 9 possibilities. We don't need to type this. I use Typescript just in some cases. Mostly it's JavaScript over here. But yeah, that's where I later look up if my word is equal to a number and if I should use this word. So then we can modify our solution for part 1. And we actually go here in our for loop where we loop or where we iterate over our single letters in the word. And what I do then is I just create a second for loop. Let's call it J. And I try to iterate through 3, 4, and 5 because all of our words, all of our spelled numbers are 3, 4, and 5 letters long, so that's all we need to check. Let's say here let j equals 3 and then 3 larger, smaller or equal to 5, j++. So what happens here is we just go through 3, 4, and 5. And that's exactly what I want, because now I can check if numbers as string, so my object here at the top, at the key, and now it gets interesting, word.substring from e to e plus j, not equal to undefined. Because if that's the case, so undefined is the default value. For example, if I have numbers as string from 0, this will be undefined because we have no entry here in our object, so that's good. But if I have the 9 over here, it is the value to our key 9, and that would be in this case 9. So I check if this substring over here is undefined, and if it's not, I just go to our numbers in string and push the value to our key with our substring. So what this basically is doing, if I have a string over here, I just take our first string out here. So and zoom a bit in. We check again if our first letter in the word is a number. And then we check for 3, 4, and 5 if our substring, our first 3 letters, our first 4 letters, and our first 5 letters are here stored as keys in our object. And if not, it's fine. Then we move on. So we start from the second index. We check if the second letter in our word is a number. And then we check again the first 3 letters, the first 4 letters, and the first 5 letters. And at some point, let's take an example where we actually have this one is not so good, this one also not. Let's see. Do we have a good example over here? Okay, I just take this one here. At this point, we check our first letter and it's not a number, so this if statement here is false. But then we check our first 3 letters. Nin is also not a key in our object, but then our first 4 letters, so the second iteration of our second for loop, this matches to the 9, and then we add the value to our numbers array, and in this case the 9 is the first value that's added to our numbers array. And we go on and on and on, and here at this case, when we are at the index, whatever it is, and we check 5, the last loop here, then we also see that we have a 3 over here, and then we add as the last value the 3. So what happens is that our first entry in this array is the 9, and our last entry is the 3. So that's basically all the magic that happens here. Let's go back to the normal font size, and yeah, what we have to do now, because it could happen that we add here numbers to our array and we add here strings to our array, we need to make sure that this, so the first and the last entry in our array, is a string. So what I do here is just put a empty string between these both, and we're good. So the sum is now a little bit higher, a little bit lower, sorry. And that's it. That's day 1 in TypeScript. It's not the cleanest solution, I think. If you're good with regex, you can do a lot of stuff over here that is not that complicated. And if you do this very performant, you wouldn't go over the whole string, so you would stop after you found the first number, because only the first number is interesting. And then you would maybe start to do the same process from the back. So after you found the 8 here at the front, you maybe would start at the back and keep going until you found the last number, and then you ignore the whole string between these both numbers, because yeah, it's not relevant for the solution. But for these little test cases, these little strings, this works absolutely fine, and there's a nice brute force solution over here. So I hope this helped you a bit, and maybe we see us tomorrow. So have a great day, and bye.